Ever stand up to speak English and your mind just goes blank?
Oh yeah, that horrible freeze moment.
You've practiced, memorized, checked your grammar 100 times, but when it's time to talk, everything disappears.
That's the wall. The grammar fear wall.
Exactly. And today, we're breaking through it.
Welcome to the English Blend. Let's talk about how to sound confident and fluent, even when your English isn't perfect.
So let's start with a big idea. What is fluency really?
That's a great question, Mia, because most people think fluency means having no errors.
Right. They think fluency means perfect grammar, perfect pronunciation, and never saying,
But that's actually accuracy.
Yes. Accuracy is about correctness. It's about using the right tense, the right prepositions, the right conjugation.
And accuracy is important, of course. We aren't saying ignore grammar completely.
But fluency is different. Fluency is about flow. It's about the ability to keep the conversation moving.
It means you can express an idea and get your point across without long, awkward pauses.
Even if you use the wrong verb tense sometimes.
Even if you forget a specific word and have to describe it instead.
That is real communication.
Think about it this way. If you were talking to a colleague about a project and you say, "Yesterday I go to the meeting," instead of "I went," do they still understand the information?
Yes, they completely understand.
The message was delivered. That is fluency in action. The flow wasn't broken by stopping to check the past simple rule.
And that brings us to the biggest blocker for presentation skills, which is the pursuit of accuracy over fluency.
We call it paralysis by analysis.
Oh, I love that term, paralysis by analysis.
It means you're thinking so hard about the structure of the sentence that you cannot speak the sentence.
Your brain is constantly running an internal grammar check. Should this be since or for?
Wait, is this countable or uncountable?
And while you are checking those rules, seconds tick by, and the person you were talking to starts to wonder if you forgot what you were going to say.
It creates those long pauses that feel terrible. When you are giving a presentation, these pauses can completely derail your confidence. You hit a wall of grammar rules, and suddenly you can't continue.
We need to learn how to forgive ourselves for those little grammar hiccups. Your presentation slides are probably perfect, right? The data is accurate.
The message is clear. That's what matters most in a professional setting. Nobody gets fired because they forgot to add the S on the third-person singular once.
Nobody. And if they do, maybe you shouldn't work there anyway.
Exactly. That company needs to focus on communication, not pedantic grammar rules.
Let's talk about that moment of freezing up. I have a little story about that.
Ooh, I love your stories. Tell me.
This was years ago. I was presenting an idea to a new client, an international team.
Big pressure moment.
Huge pressure. I wanted everything to be perfect. I practiced my opening sentence 50 times.
Okay.
I had this whole section planned about how our product would elevate their sales performance.
Elevate. Good professional word.
Yes. But when I got to that slide, under pressure, the word elevate completely disappeared from my memory.
Oh no, the dreaded vocabulary blank.
Yes. So I paused for maybe 5 seconds, thinking, elevate, what is the word?
Did you try to describe it?
At first, no. I just stared at the slide, trying to remember the fancy word.
Paralysis by analysis, checking the vocabulary list in your head.
Precisely. The client looked confused. I was getting panicked.
So what did you do?
Finally, I gave up the fancy word. I just pointed and said, "This thing, it will make your sales go up. Much, much higher."
Simple, direct, and effective.
Exactly. I used 3 very basic words, make, go, and up.
And did they understand your point?
They laughed a little, but yes, they immediately understood the concept. And we got the contract, by the way.
See? That's a perfect example of how fluency allows you to recover when accuracy fails you.
If I had kept trying to find elevate, I might have lost the momentum of the presentation entirely.
Instead, you used simpler language to get your point across.
Yes, that's a great phrase we should highlight. to get your point across.
When you get your point across, it means you successfully communicate your idea, even if the language isn't perfect.
If you are presenting, your main goal is always to get your point across, not to impress them with your vocabulary list.
If someone says, "I didn't quite get your point," that's when you have a problem.
But if they say, I got your point, but your grammar was slightly off, who cares?
Nobody cares, Mia. Nobody.
So, how do we train our brains to prioritize communication over continuous grammar checking?
We have to change the way we study and the way we practice.
Let's move into our practical tips section. We have 3 to 5 great steps you can start using today.
Tip number 1, and this is crucial for fluency. Stop learning single words.
Yes, this is a common mistake for A2 and B1 level learners.
They see a new verb, they write it down, and they try to memorize it in isolation.
But English doesn't work that way, especially in presentations. We speak in chunks.
A chunk is a phrase or a group of words that naturally go together, like on the other hand, or we should take into account.
Or, let me summarize this slide.
If you learn those phrases as one unit, you don't have to assemble them piece by piece when you speak.
Learning chunks makes your delivery much smoother. It builds automaticity.
When you are practicing your presentation, don't practice the ideas. Practice the transitions and the useful chunks.
For example, instead of thinking, I need to talk about the sales figures, practice the chunk, as you can see from this data, the figures are high.
That whole sentence structure comes out quickly because your brain recognizes it as one piece of information, not 6 separate words.
It saves energy, and energy is what you need when you're nervous in front of a crowd.
Absolutely. That ties into our next tip, which is about input, massive listening.
Massive listening is important for presentations because it helps you internalize those chunks naturally.
Listen to English content, podcasts, news, other presentations as much as possible.
You're listening for how native speakers structure their arguments, how they transition, and how they express uncertainty.
You want to absorb the rhythm of the language. If you hear the phrase, "I'd like to draw your attention to," 50 times, it will just start popping into your head when you need it in your own presentation.
It becomes muscle memory for the mouth. So practice listening to professional English content, not just sitcoms, but things that mirror the language you need for your actual presentation.
Listen for the filler words too, the the so, the well, the you know.
Those fillers are incredibly useful when you need a 1-second mental break to retrieve the next chunk. They make you sound natural and they buy you time.
Which leads perfectly to our third tip, which is my personal favorite, the 3-second rule.
Oh yes, the 3-second rule is the cure for paralysis by analysis.
When you are speaking and you get stuck, you hit a wall, your immediate instinct is to pause indefinitely until you find the perfect word. We need to break that habit.
The 3-second rule says, if you cannot find the perfect word or the perfect grammatical structure within 3 seconds, you must say the simpler, imperfect version.
You must move on. It's like a traffic light turning green. If you stop for 5 seconds, your fluency is destroyed. If you stop for 3 seconds and then switch to an easier phrase, your fluency is mostly maintained. And let's be honest, those 3 seconds feel much longer to you than they do to the audience.
They really do. The audience is probably still processing the previous point while you're agonizing over the past participle.
So if you are presenting the monthly results and you can't remember the word for deficit,
You say, we spent too much money. Simple, direct. You get your point across.
perfect. You kept the flow and you stayed under the 3-second time limit.
Remember, making a simple error is not the end of the world.
That's another great phrase for our language focus. Not the end of the world.
When something is not the end of the world, it means it's not a disaster. It's not serious.
Mispronouncing a name? Not the end of the world. Forgetting an article? Not the end of the world.
Accidentally skipping a slide? Okay, maybe a little stressful, but still not the end of the world. The presentation continues.
If you allow yourself the mental freedom to make mistakes, you release the pressure that causes you to freeze up.
That fear is what makes you hit a wall in the first place.
Speaking of hitting a wall, that's our third core phrase for today.
When you hit a wall, it means you suddenly stop making progress because of a difficult problem or obstacle.
I was practicing my presentation until 10 p.m. Then I hit a wall with the financial data slide.
That feeling when your brain just refuses to work anymore, that's hitting a wall.
And usually, that wall comes when you are focusing too much on accuracy, trying to be perfect.
So our solution to hitting that wall is to remember the 3-second rule and use simple language to get your point across.
Let's add a couple more quick tips, Mia. Tip number 4, record yourself and focus on delivery.
Don't just read the script in your head. Record the whole presentation on your phone.
Listen back, but don't listen for grammar errors first.
Listen for the flow. Where are the long pauses? Where do you stumble?
If you hear yourself pausing for 5 seconds, that's where you need to insert a filler word or plan a simpler chunk of language.
And finally, tip number 5, prepare for the Q&A differently.
The Q&A, questions and answers, section after a presentation is terrifying because it's totally unscripted.
It's pure, spontaneous speech. This is where fluency is tested most severely.
You cannot memorize answers, but you can memorize opening structures.
Chunks again. Learn phrases like, "That's a great question, thank you." Or, "I haven't considered that specific angle, but..."
These opening chunks give you 3 to 5 precious seconds to formulate your actual answer.
And if you don't know the answer, be fluent in admitting that too.
Say, that information is currently outside the scope of this discussion. Or simply, I will look into that and follow up immediately.
Don't panic and try to invent an answer using complicated English you are unsure of. Use simple, confident English to manage expectations.
This all comes back to our central idea. Fluency is communication, not perfection.
Focus on the message you need to convey. What does the audience need to know? If you can tell them that, you are succeeding. Your presentation is successful.
Don't stress about whether you used the third conditional correctly and that off-the-cuff answer. It truly is not the end of the world if you make a mistake.
Let's quickly review the essentials for improving presentation English.
First, recognize the difference. Fluency is flow, accuracy is grammar. Prioritize flow.
Second, avoid paralysis by analysis by adopting the 3-second rule when you get stuck.
Third, focus your learning on chunks of language rather than single words, especially transitional phrases.
And use our focus phrases. Get your point across, communicate successfully, hit wall, stop making progress due to difficulty, and not the end of the world. It's not serious.
If you apply these principles, you will notice a huge difference in your confidence when presenting.
Your presentations will sound smoother, more natural, and much more like real communication.
Just practice speaking every day, even if it's just for 5 minutes. Consistency is key.
Think of fluency like riding a bicycle. You might wobble a bit, but if you stop to analyze the physics, you fall over. You just have to keep moving.
Keep moving forward, even if you make a little wobble.
That was a great talk.
Yes, and next time we're diving into English for difficult negotiations. How to stay firm but friendly.
Sounds intense. We'll see you then.
See you in the next episode of The English Blend.